Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the VJ Hour. I'm excited because my guest today is the lovely Elena Rățoi, with whom I had the pleasure to work on a project for World Bank in gender-related topics. But before we dive into the actual discussion, I want to introduce Elena to our audience today. Elena Rățoi is from Moldova, and currently she's working as a program officer at the Center for International Private Enterprise. She is taking an active role in a variety of initiatives, including gender equality, fighting sexist advertisement in Moldova, promoting body positivity, and empowering women with disabilities. To me, Elena is a true inspiration. Despite having a mobility impairment, you were able to adapt to any life situation. You were an active promoter in fighting several and a lot of stereotypes about disability as such. And you prove that being different doesn't mean you have to be treated differently. And I know you have been vocal and active in promoting the importance of the actual abilities and skills and get the focus out of the disability aspect as such. So I want to praise you and support your tremendous work in raising awareness on such important topics. Elena, over to you. Thank you so much for joining today. How are you?
Thank you a lot, Victoria. I'm very fine. I am very excited to discuss with you today about so many interesting things. And thank you a lot for inviting me.
It is my pleasure, really, and I look forward to have a fruitful discussion and tackle the interesting topics we have prepared for today. So, unfortunately, it is a fact that people with disabilities are among the most marginalized group in the world. And disability is now understood as a human rights issue. Women and girls, especially with disabilities, face systematic marginalization that leads to lower economic and social status. So on this note, what are the most common stereotypes about individuals with mobility impairment?
Well, speaking in general about stereotypes and the common ideas society at large have towards people with disabilities, I can list a few of them. For example, that people with disabilities, they need constant care, they cannot act by themselves, they cannot manage themselves, they cannot decide on their lives, so they need someone to take care of them. And also not only to provide support, which sometimes is needed because, well, having a disability sometimes creates you some impediments to, for example, to do certain things. But the people, they consider that they don't only are obliged, let's say, to help you, but also to decide instead of you. For example, speaking about myself and the situations I faced, and the situations which my friends with disabilities also face, is that you are treated like a child. You are infantilized. For example, let's take a very simple example. You want, or I want, to cross the street, and I'm alone. And they cannot do this because, because infrastructure is not adapted. The borders are too high, or I just cannot. So I need to ask someone for help. And the first question I hear is, why did you go alone? Why is nobody near you to help you? Meaning, if I have a disability, it means that I have to have someone near me to conduct me, to, I don't know, to stay beside me the whole time. But the true, the meaning, the real barrier is the lack of accessibility, not the fact that I'm alone. Or let's take another example when I tell the people that some ramps they're not accessible because they're too steep, or I don't know, they're too narrow and I cannot use them. And they don't believe me because they say, "Well, but this is built for you, for people like you. How you cannot use them?" So they would rather believe the common norms and stereotypes rather than believing me that something is not appropriate for me. So yes, I can think this is meaning the main stereotypes that people with disabilities sometimes are not treated serious.
So I would expect that this has a psychological impact. So how were you able to separate yourself from that and really build this mindset that you have today and really overcoming these obstacles?
You know, at the beginning it was really hard because I was affected by all the comments which I was receiving from people, and especially I was very afraid to go somewhere in public because of these stares and gazes which I noticed towards me. But it took time until I somehow, let's say, I learned not to pay attention to all these, and sometimes I just make fun. I just speak with my friends, I tell them the funny stories I have to pass through, and I just transform it into a source of fun. That's all.
So good mood and positive mindset are the key.
Exactly.
But did you involve certain practices or certain insights, or did you actually do therapy in order to overcome it?
No, I didn't do therapy to overcome it. Well, I don't know why. Probably because I live with this the whole time, the whole my life, and I just consider this normal. Meaning I don't see anything, let's say, strange or abnormal here.
Mm-hmm. No, this is very inspirational. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And then, tell me the story of building your successful career. How, what was the process and what kind of challenges did you overcome? Because you're really doing very well, and I'm very pleased for you.
Thank you a lot. I don't think I could give a successful recipe for this, or I don't know. I don't have a magic solution. Everything I've done, I just work hard, very, very hard. And sometimes, for example, if let's say, um, in case, yes, the legislation says that people with disabilities have to work, for example, 6 hours per day. Sometimes I was in the situation that I had to work much more, just because to accomplish my tasks and just to achieve the setup objectives. And there's another, let's say, another trick is constant learning. In case I don't know something and I think that a field is of interest for me and could help me building my future career, I just start to dig in and to learn, to study, and to educate myself. So everything is in our hands, and we could do with our lives whatever we want, and we can reach whatever we want.
Mm-hmm. And at work, do you feel like you're treated differently than other employees or not?
No, right now I don't think so. Probably in the beginning, when, for example, I have a new colleague, or yes, it took some time to accommodate this, especially if the person didn't meet previously another person with disability. So it takes just a bit of time to not to treat me like a person with disability. But right now, I can say that I don't feel any difference between how I am treated and how I treated my colleagues without disability, and how they treat me. Meaning, this let's say, this small difference between us disappears.
I'm very pleased to hear that, actually. And then talking about this challenging, like which are the most annoying challenges that you wish could be resolved, right? And they can be related to any domain.
Well, there's so many.
Let's go one by one.
Yes. Well, let's say first of all, it would be employment. And when I speak about employment, I refer not only to people with disabilities, but in general to everyone, to women, to other people who feel discriminated in Moldova. I'm speaking now about Moldova because I truly believe that financial independence stay at the basis of independence as such. Because in case you gain the financial independence, you can decide on your life, what you want to do, and also you can build on the future. But nowadays, we still see that a lot of people, they're just discriminated when they would like to enter into the workplace. Let's speak about women. They also find some difficulties in accessing the labor market, especially when they are young and especially when they have small kids. Or they still struggle to access some well-paid positions because they are considered not to be suitable for women, and they are most suitable for men to hold these positions. And also, let's speak about, for example, Roma people who are very discriminated on the labor market and who have to pass not only the let's say external factors like lack of information, lack of I don't know, social assistance and so on, but also they have to face discrimination when they want to when they really want to have a job and to really get employed. Yes, so.
Any other challenges?
Any other challenges?
Knowing ones.
Use political participation of, especially of those groups who are most vulnerable. Because again, we see that, let's say, women, people with disabilities, people from ethnic minorities, they are almost excluded from decision making level. And when someone adopts a law, a bylaw, I don't know, a regulation, and so on, they take into account only their personal experiences, and they cannot, meaning a law cannot be suitable for everyone. It shall have specific provisions for women, for people with disabilities, for ethnic minorities, for I don't know, for other groups who face discrimination, or meaning they need more opportunities. They need more more opportunities to access their rights. But in case we have laws which are developed by people who didn't face specific barriers, it's almost impossible for them to adjust those provisions in order to create opportunities for other excluded groups.
And here basically I would have a comment and also a question. Because statistics says that women with disabilities are actually twice disadvantaged, and I think you mentioned that, especially in the labor market. So they face discrimination based on gender and also on disability. So how can we raise awareness about these biases, and how can we educate people towards a more sustainable approach?
First of all, we have to speak about this. Constantly, we have to speak about this. And not only with the society at large, but also with the women with disabilities as well. Because sometimes you, as a person with disability, as a woman with disability, you are so much absorbed by your life and by the realities that you just don't perceive the things which happen around, that they are discrimination towards you. You just take them as normal practice. So in case we will start to speak and to show that, look, this is not correct towards you. You have this right and that right, and you actually are entitled to benefit of your rights. So people will have a different approach. And yes, first of all is to educate people and to educate women with disabilities. The second solution is to provide accessible infrastructure, because this stays at the basis of let's say, benefiting of your rights. In case you'd like to go to school, you need an accessible infrastructure. In case you need to go to work, you also need a good accessible infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And employment, I already mentioned, but also we need some programs which will encourage the women with disabilities to become leaders, to get involved in, I don't know, in civic life, in political life, and to be more active and more visible.
So what channels would be most appropriate? Is there enough media coverage for it, in your opinion? Or where are we lacking? Like where the focus should be?
The focus, if speaking about media, focus shall be on the successes obtained in this realm, rather than complaining about something which is not. And also the language used by media and also by the society, not only by media, shall be, let's say, slightly revised, because we often see in the media such titles like let's help the saddest people, let's help people who are more disadvantaged than us. And also I've noticed it also in a verbal communication, when people say, well, but this type of people, and so on and so forth. Meaning they're positioning themselves as us and they. We don't see, or they don't see all the people like a common group, but rather us and they. And this happens not only in relation to people with disabilities, but also in relation to any other minority group, gay, let's say, LGBT, Roma, women, and so on. It is always us and they.
So, and I guess there is still a lot of work until we finally normalize everyone into one bucket, rather than constantly separate the groups of people.
Exactly.
But anyways, on a positive note, what do you do every day to keep this positive mindset and make yourself happy?
I just try to take myself in my hands.
That's a great way to start the day.
I think that like anyone, everybody else, there are days when I just don't want to do anything, just to stay in the bed, just to cry about my life and so on. But this would not change anything. That's why, well, there is, let's say, not an obligation, but I set myself some targets which I have to reach, and in order to reach those targets, I have to work hard, like I think everybody else.
Yeah, that's a nice motivational way. How you would do that, yeah. And then, so coming from the positive mindset, what would be the biggest fear that a person with mobility impairment has? So we were talking about the stereotypes, but what are the actual fears that you have and you really struggle with?
It's, I don't know, it's really hard. Probably if to be stuck somewhere without anyone to help you or to ask for help. And when you asked me this question, I remember the situation when I was walking alone in the city. It was in Chisinau. It was during a daytime, and a man started to follow me, saying that he'd like to help me, and I refused him. No, thank you. I don't need your help. But he continued to follow me and to talk with me. To, I don't know. He just didn't go away, and I became really scared because, okay, I couldn't run, meaning I just couldn't run, and I understood that in case something would happen with me, I couldn't run, and there is no one around to help me. So yes, probably this is the biggest fear, that you cannot run when you are in the front of them.
The inability to act, I would say.
Exactly.
And what about the people around? Do they react in some way? Are they being helpful if you reach out? Or even if they're like the actors in such a scene? What is your experience?
Yes, mostly people are very helpful, meaning they're very proactive, and sometimes I just don't ask help, but they are proposing myself in case they see that I struggle with something. Yes, usually people help, and usually, especially when you ask, you will always find someone to help you.
Nice. Okay, this is about the people in the society, and now I want to understand, what does the government do to empower women and girls with disabilities to achieve realization of their rights? So what in this aspect, what can you say?
As far as I'm aware, there are no specific governmental programs which are related towards women with disabilities specifically, because society, again speaking about society perceives people with disabilities like a homogeneous group, meaning they are one the same. But among this group, there are women, there are men who have different needs. There are younger people with disabilities, there are older, and so on and so forth. But so far, there are development partners who implement programs to support women with disabilities, for example, to support women with disabilities to become more actively involved in civic life and in political life. And I would like to share that now we have women with disabilities elected in local councillors, and they are doing the great stuff, because they started to implement projects which will help, which will help to renovate their community and to make their communities more accessible, especially for people with disabilities, but not only. Also, again, civil society organizations and development partners started to speak about sexual and reproductive health of women with disabilities. I remember myself, let's say, 7 or 8 years ago, when we started just for the first time saying that gynecological cabinets are not accessible for women with disabilities, and how many struggles and how many barriers women with disabilities face when they need just to go to a gynecologist or to a doctor, or in case they like to plan a family, meaning nobody thought about this before.
So when you're vocal about these issues, are they being addressed in any way or not?
You have to be very vocal and for very long time in order to have these issues addressed. Meaning, I can say that yes, I see the changes, but let's say they are like baby steps. We are taking baby steps towards these changes, and yes, I think we have to move much quicker in order to create equal opportunities for everyone. Because again, if speaking about myself, I would like to benefit of my rights right now, but not in 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, I understand, of course. It makes sense and it's fully understandable. And then talking about this, let's say, action and being vocal about these challenges, do you have a specific example where you were vocal, and how did it work, and how was the process, and what was the outcome of such an initiative where you were vocal about some struggles and challenges?
Trying to remember right now something. Yes, there are examples, but they came hard to my head. Yes, for example, again, speaking generally about political participation of women with disabilities, we started to speak about this few years ago, and we started, meaning me and my former colleagues, started to implement programs dedicated to women with disabilities to become to be elected in at local level at least. Yes, and we even didn't have any data about how many women with disabilities hold a decision-making position before this project. Such data just didn't exist, and nobody thought to measure it. And let's say that it was very hard for someone to believe that this would be possible, that women with disabilities to enter into politics, but speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking and doing activities and encouraging women. Yes, they started to believe in themselves. That's the first point. And they understood that their place is in decision making.
But when you're saying speaking, is it more like to local authorities, to independent organization, NGOs? What kind of entities are you referring to?
Oh, okay. In this example, I'm referring to political parties because they are ones who nominate women, but also I'm referring to speaking to women with disabilities because they have to start to believe in themselves and to start to act. And also to society at large that, for example, to create a more accessible environment and to encourage women with disabilities to be active. And also, it is very helpful just to when speaking about problem, let's say about women's problem or women's issues, is not to speak only about the issue from one perspective, but to say that, for example, women with disabilities, they face this problem in this way. Roma women face this problem in that way, and so on and so forth. So let's try to find a solution which would be supportive to everyone. And also, it was very, very, very useful to bring in the same place women from various groups and to let them speak among themselves about their issues. And after this, they started to understand that, look, we are not unique, meaning, yes, I do have problem, but this woman also have any issues. So together we may do something, meaning I'm not alone. I'm not the unique one who struggle with something. It is very, and also it is very useful because this destroys the stereotypes and destroys these wars between different groups of women, let's say, because they start to better know each other. They start to see that, for example, women with disabilities, or I don't know, yes, let's say women with disabilities, they are not some aliens, or I don't know, somebody else, other people. They're just people like us, and we may do some things together.
This is very inspiring to hear, and also I like your kind of solution determined oriented approach. And speaking about this empowerment and empowering women with the mobility impairment, what do you personally do outside the things that you're doing in the various projects in order to empower them and to shift this mindset and to really make them feel good about themselves?
Well, I'm just trying to speak with them and to try to make them to believe in their powers, because everyone needs just a bit of hint, just a hint to move towards. And also, in case I can be of any help, for example, helping with some information or some contact details, I always try to support those people who would like to change something in their lives, in their community, and yes.
And do you have are you part of an organization? Do you create some groups where you have these certain discussions? How this communication is going?
It's going mostly one-to-one, because there are some for example, some women with disabilities I know or they know me, and in case I find some interesting information or some initiative which I think that it could be of interest for someone, I try to share it with as many people as possible. And also, in case they would have some questions towards me, they know that they can always approach me.
But is it actually sufficient to have just one-on-one discussions? Wouldn't it be nice or better to organize sessions with them, like as you said, right, when they were like changing, closing the barriers, like no barriers between various groups? So wouldn't it be better to organize these certain sessions on a regular basis to really get them out of their maybe limiting thinking?
Yes, I think that let's say permanent sessions or regular sessions or regular discussions would be very helpful, and because this would also this will build a safe space where people will start to trust each other, and they will start to um, I don't know, to provide support to one another. And I know that there are organizations who are already doing this, meaning they are convening a group of including women with disabilities, and they're trying to act as a support group and to meet on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And I think it's really, really important, right? Because a lot of things are created in our mind, and our mind sometimes is the worst enemy. It kind of creates stories, it creates those limitations, it brings up those fears. So the more we work with our mind and the more we expand, our thinking, the better we're gonna live. And it's not only for the people with a mobility impairment, but also for everyone.
Yes, I fully agree with you.
Great. So I also want to ask you, because there are probably in Moldova there are certain specialized departments that should be taking care of these groups. Are they doing anything in particular? Is there any development in how they are addressing these groups and their needs? Can we expect more?
Well, yes, there are, for example, the ministries, they do have some specific departments who try to assess the situation in each field, for example, in the field of people with disabilities, in the field of gender equality, in the field of, I don't know, ethnic minorities, and so on and so forth. And they are trying to come with changes at the level of policy making, to adopt some regulations, to adopt some provisions which will be helpful for, or which would improve the inclusion of a certain group of people. Of course, the more is needed, especially in terms of financial support, not towards people with disabilities, let's say, but towards making some improvements at the society level, for example, infrastructure, or also education, or, for example, if speaking about education, I don't know if at schools students are taught, are informed about the specific needs of various groups, or how they can interact with various groups, or they don't receive this information, because in case there will be more information on how to interact with various groups of people, and the fact that they are normal, actually, I think that discrimination will be less and less.
I also think there's an issue with how the media presents, the people as such, and they present some sort of like image of what normality should be, and then everything that's outside of it is perceived as non-normal, right? So this has to shift into the direction of putting everything into one bucket and really have an inclusive environment.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm. And now I want to dive into the next topic that we want to tackle today. So I want to know how disability is actually connected to body positivity. Because when we think of beauty standards, there are like certain perceptions that exist in the society. And how can we contribute to make that shift towards women with disabilities that can appear in in fashion magazines, in journal, and really make this as a normality?
Well, let's start with the fact that women with disabilities in our society, they let's say they are not perceived as women as such. Because indeed, we cannot just say that women with disabilities face double discrimination, because when comparing to women without disabilities, they cannot benefit of those rights as women without disabilities have. And again, they don't perceive as women in most cases. Speaking in relation to men with disabilities or boys with disabilities, they have some specific needs which have to be addressed, but because they are not perceived as women, these needs are just not taken into account. Let's say sexual and reproductive health. I already mentioned the issues related to gynecological cabinets, but let's speak about planning a kid or planning a family. Mostly society don't believe and doesn't perceive that a woman with disability can be a wife, can be a mother, can be loved by someone, can have a relation with someone, because yes, again, there is we and us.
There is a separation for some, unfortunately.
Exactly. And in case a woman with disability would say that she is in a relationship with someone, the first question would be, is this man or boy with disability as well, or not? Again, people would not consider normal that they could be couples where someone has a disability, has an impairment. And yes, if to link with the beauty standards, to link with the body positivity, and the way in which society sees women with disabilities very much affected by the beauty standards which are promoted again by magazines, by newspapers, by billboards, by advertising, and so on. Because what we have there is the women with perfect bodies, women of young age, of a certain body type with certain, let's say, kilograms, certain skin color, and so on. And people, if they see this on a constant basis, every day in every articles, in every news, and so on, they just start to perceive that beauty has to look like this, meaning there are no other types of beauty. And if they would say see a woman, let's say, with the older age, or I don't know, with the over-ponderated, they would say that this is not beautiful. Don't show me this. I don't like this. Why you don't? Why do you promote this? So that's why I think that it is very important to destroy these beauty standards, to start to speak with the society that actually these beauty standards are very negative, toxic, exactly, and to provide them some other alternatives, to include also women with disabilities um, in advertising, in movies, and showing that they can also be beautiful. Also, yes, yes, not only, again, it's not only in relation to women with disabilities, but in relation to other women from underrepresented groups, which also have to be portrayed in various media products in order to start to destroy the unrealistic beauty standards.
The image, right, that is created around it.
Exactly. And actually, we had an initiative with a local company to try to promote the so-called body positivity movement, and we shot a few women from underrepresented groups, including a woman with disability, and
Wow.
posted them as a social advertising on their website, on their social social networks. Yes,
This is very nice to hear, and to know that such initiatives are taking place, and the awareness is being brought up. It is excellent.
Again, it's a baby step, but we just started to discuss about this in Moldova.
Okay. Anything else happening interesting in this aspect in Moldova?
No, in Moldova we just started to speak about body positivity, and mostly people link body positivity with the issues related to the weight of people. But body positivity is not only about weight. Body positivity is about loving your body and about promoting that each body is beautiful. Every person is beautiful, despite how he or she looks like. Also, body positivity is about promoting the people with various body types, different age, different abilities, different body shapes, and so on, just to educate society that beauty can look different.
So which are the ways that we can educate? Because as you correctly said, media portrays it in like this standard way, and it's very hard to shift this type of perception. So where is the root cause? Where we can look into depth and really find ways to make this shift, in your opinion?
I think that one of the best ways is to not podcast, but let's say is to promote women with different body shapes in media products, in newspapers, in magazines, in advertising. For example, I would really like to see on a billboard a woman with disability who would advertise, I don't know, some pasta, let's say, or some fitness classes, or I don't know. It would be really fine. Or to have more articles in media about beauty standards and about body positivity, because many people, they just don't understand what does it is and why this is positive. What is the negative effect of body shaming and unrealistic beauty standards. Also, let's say about fashion shows, it would be very interesting to see women with disabilities and also women from other groups participating in these beauty shows. I know that in Moldova it was such an initiative to organize a fashion show with the participation of women with disability, but it should be. I'd like to see this more promoted and taking place in much more often. And also, why not in movies or video clips or video spots which are promoted on TV and so on.
And where do you think this will actually start? Should it start from implementing some laws that would enable these organizations to have it as a mandatory, factor into their strategy or into their plan, or it's more individual and how the companies feel that they should be more inclusive?
Well, the idea of having a law is quite good, I would say.
Okay. Whoever is watching, please take in consideration.
Sure. It would be better if this approach or this initiative would would come from a company itself. Because this would mean that the company really trusts in this approach and would like to promote body positivity. And by the way, the statistical data from foreign companies which started already to promote body positivity through their products show that their income increased or they became more popular on social networks, and they became more, let's say, people started to like them more, meaning the company would also have a benefit in case they would like to include women with unrealistic beauty standards in their products.
Unrealistical, right? Because diversity and inclusion has been an important factor that has been implemented actually globally across many companies. So have you came across about some initiative that you've seen implemented somewhere that you think could be suitable to be implemented in Moldova?
Yes, for example, let's take a duck company. And starting from a few years ago, they started to include in their video spots women various skin color or various abilities and so on. And also their video spots are quite inspiring, meaning let's say that probably this company don't embrace gender equality, or some people from Dove still have gender stereotypes. But the fact that they started to promote in public something else, it's a very good start, because also we are what we consume, and in case we consume more media which is more positive, which is against stereotypes, which is against discrimination, which supports and empowers some groups of people, we start to become more and more open to those groups of people. Media also has a very, very strong power towards us, towards changing our perceptions. And also, again, another example is an online shop from the US. They sell clothes online, and they have a let's say it's not a rule, but rather it's I don't know, an internal decision to also have in their advertising women with disabilities, women representing LGBT groups, women with various types of skin color. And in their case, the statistics show that their income actually increased after they released that advertising campaign.
Well, I actually hope that marketing representatives will be watching today will get inspired, right? And they will understand that actually including diversity into their strategy will benefit the company a lot.
Yes, I really hope this.
Hope dies last, right?
Exactly.
But talking about the body image, the body positivity, do you think COVID and the current pandemics had an effect on how we view our bodies and and body image in general?
COVID in general affected the whole our life, and I think that probably yes, COVID impacted this as well. Because but what I would like to specify that during COVID I've seen a lot of examples, a lot of campaigns which portray, for example, doctors not in a very good shape, but let's say with marks from masks or marks from their costumes, saying that how hard is their job. And yes, also I've seen some yes, I wanted to talk about this example of doctors, and speaking about how COVID affected the way we perceive our body. indeed, I think it's a different way, because now we have to wear the masks, which actually covers the half of our face.
Face.
And
Yeah.
now we have to adapt to a new reality, to a new, let's say, way of dressing, and way of putting even makeup, because wearing a mask is quite difficult. It creates some struggles to put makeup.
Now we have to look more into the eyes and understand.
But if not speaking about some of our well, sorry, if speaking about not talking about our topic, the movies, for example, which promoted the heroes, when these superheroes have covered only the eyes, now the masks destroyed the stereotypes, because uh, we understood that we could recognize people even with the masks, and
Exactly.
how
That's a good point. All right. And then when can the body positivity movement become toxic? When can it become toxic? Because excessive, when there's excessive of it, then it can become probably negative.
Exactly, you're right. It can become negative when we promote it, not say in excess, but we don't promote the healthy style. Because body positivity is not about not having a healthy style. It is also about that people have to take care of themselves. They have to take care of their health. Yes, we have to be very open towards, let's say, various body shapes. But in case these body shapes they become like this just because people eat unhealthy food, it's not. We don't speak here already about body positive. We speak about something else. Or let's say, in case the person doesn't take care of his or her personal hygiene, again, this is against the health. It's not healthy at all, and we don't have to bring body positivity to extreme. Meaning, everything has to have its own limits. First of all, the health should be placed in the front of everything, and yes.
There should be a balance, even in body positivity, not only but everywhere in life and in aspects of our life.
Exactly.
It all comes down to this again, right? To the basic things. And then, like, how can we improve and practice body positivity, regardless of the group we're part in, regardless of anything else?
Everything starts with ourselves. First of all, we as citizens, we as society have to stop criticize people who don't look like us. And because we see a lot of body shaming, we see a lot of people who criticize other people because of the way they look like, because they are too fat or too skinny, or I don't know, too tall or too small or too, I don't know. And if we as society would stop to promote such rhetorics, people would feel much more confident in their own bodies. And it's very easy, meaning it's so easy not to comment the way the people look like, the people dress, the people act. If these people feel themselves comfortable in their skin, and if they are okay with themselves, so let them live alone in case this doesn't affect your own life. But we have to work still very, very much on our tolerance.
So tell me, what are your practices? Give me your story and how you practice body positivity.
Yes. Well, first of all, I said I try not to blame other people because the way they look, and I try to encourage other people to do the same, to follow my example. And I'm not ashamed of the body I have. I mean, I'm very, very okay with it. I'm very okay with the way I look like. And yes.
Nice, very inspiring. That's very nice. So we discussed why body positivity is important for people, and do you actually, can you sense how the body, the ideal body changed over time, and what is the ideal body picture currently in the media and in the society?
Let's remember the pictures of our famous painters from, let's say, 17th century or 18th century on. They promoted women with, let's say, with some. Yes, exactly. Now, the Hollywood, the after 60s, they started to promote this very not skinny type of body, but very fit. Muscles with sunburn and so on. Meaning now we consider that beauty looks like different. Or again, let's remember our villages when you go to the relatives and they start to feed you because you look too skinny, and there is the perception that the most beautiful woman is the woman again with curves or with some kilos. But now where people start to fight, not to fight, but to lose their weight, even in detriment of their health. So we have the extreme part here.
So my intake would be that, when promoting body positivity, first of all, it's still a healthy lifestyle and a positive mindset. This would be the two main ingredients that we first have to consider, and then thinking about, what media presents, and really filter what is presented to us, and really understand what do we want to take from it and what not. What resonates with us and what not.
Exactly. Exactly.
So imagine we are almost finishing our discussion. It passed like 5 minutes. What would you, at the end of our discussion, how would you empower ladies from your group? And I like how one of our guests said that the word disability should be replaced with special abilities. So how would you empower ladies with special abilities? And what advice would you give them in order to really live their life to the fullest?
First of all, to start to believe in themselves, because they are amazing. They are amazing in the way they are, and they could reach whatever goal they put. Just trusting in themselves. And let's say another message which I would like to convey to them is not to listen to what society says, and to be very, not to take into account all the stereotypes, not to take into account all the preconceived ideas about themselves, because everything they like to reach, they could just trust in themselves.
You know what they say, it's easy to say and it's difficult to do it in practice, but we are hopeful and we really trust that there is a way out, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll really see raising awareness about these important topics. We'll really see ladies with special abilities in fashion magazines, in media, treated as a normal group, part of an integral group, like we all are. So I want to really thank you for all the work that you're doing, for spending time with me today to have this informal chat. I appreciate it greatly. I wish you good luck in all of the initiatives that you're working on, in the empowerment efforts that you're doing towards the marginalized group. And I hope to talk to you again on some other interesting topic.
With a great pleasure. Thank you a lot for inviting me today. It was really a pleasure for me to talk with you and to share with you all my thoughts and all my experience. Thank you.
Excellent.
It was really good.
Excellent. We will not say goodbye. We will say see you later.
Later.
And I also want to thank everybody that joined today. Thank you guys for the encouraging words. Thank you for listening to us. And we'll see you later for another session of the V-Day Hour. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.